Tonight, water worries, visitors getting sick from drinking Port Pirie's rainwater. And on the inside, a look behind the bars at one of Australia's oldest and most historic jails.
This is Southern Cross News with Tim Hatfield.
Good evening, but first tonight, Regional Express will add new flights between Port Lincoln and Adelaide during the middle of the day in response to passenger feedback. The weekly flights will deliver more domestic and international connections, making the region easier to access.
Over 200,000 passengers make the short hop from Adelaide to Port Lincoln yearly. But Regional Express believes those numbers are on the up, launching a new daytime service to satisfy community demand. The Port Lincoln Mayor fully behind the new schedules.
Our connectivity to the rest of the world from this region is really important to us. And now with an extra lunchtime flight, a real bonus. Regs currently operates upwards of 80 weekly connections between Adelaide and the Eyre Peninsula, but that will soon increase to 98 flights, an additional 7,000 seats every year. In a statement to Southern Cross News, Regs says it has listened to customers and will deliver middle-of-the-day flights starting from next month. The new schedules fall on the back of QantasLink announcing flights into Kangaroo Island, the rivalry for air dominance between carriers pushing into the regions. The two-airline policy has really helped, I guess, with the competition and the frequency. The increased number of flights begging the question for larger aircraft, but Mayor Green says smaller planes provide more convenience. If we were to move to larger aircraft, that would decrease the frequency of flights and need some modifications to the airport. The new flights will begin weekly from July 17. Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
State Treasurer Tom Koutsantonis has hinted a final package to rescue Arium and the Whyalla Steelworks is close to being finalised. The comments have been welcomed by Whyalla's state and federal MPs who say residents just want a decision soon.
As the state government pushes its controversial bank tax, the Treasurer is using Arium's administration as an example of why the tax is needed. 4
Australian banks decided they wanted to lend money in an unsecured way to Arium, and now we're left to pick up the pieces. To reinvest in South Australia, we need the revenue. The choices we've made are to tax the 5 Australian big banks.
It's been 15 months since Arium went into administration, with both the federal and state governments working with preferred bidder POSCO to sign them up as the new owner. The Treasurer says he and Federal Industry Minister Arthur Sinodinos are making good progress.
Minister Sinodinos is doing an exceptional job. Our agencies are working very well together.
And he's hinted a final announcement is close, bringing an end to the uncertainty surrounding Whyalla's future.
How close are you?
Very close.
How close?
Very.
Both our local MPs have welcomed the comments. Eddie Hughes and Rowan Ramsey say Whyalla residents just want an end to what has been a torturous process.
I have no doubt, and people in Whyalla just want it over, but they want it over in the right way.
And the profound uncertainty that going into administration that created, so people are hanging out for a resolution.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Taxpayer dollars will be spent on diesel generators over summer, as a Liberal MP says a similar amount could have kept a Linter power station running. The region is being considered for power ships as backup, but in the state government's power struggle, they haven't revealed the exact cost yet.
After last year's blackouts, the state government is in the process of hiring diesel generators for summer. Yet Liberal MP Mr Van Holst Pelican is concerned this could have been better spent.
They're having to install diesel backup generators to try and avoid blackouts. The state government refused Alinta's proposal to spend $8 million per year to keep the Port Augusta power station open for a few more years.
From what's penned in the budget, he estimates the cost to be $150 million.
To install diesel generators in Adelaide, which will be no good whatsoever for the environment and will not be nearly as useful as keeping the Port Augusta power station open temporarily would have been.
The Energy Minister said in a statement to Southern Cross News that the process of procuring the generators is already underway and that he couldn't disclose the cost due to the tender process. Mr Van Holst Pelican says his concern is the government's lack of transparency on taxpayer dollars, as the state government has previously stated the cost of other energy projects while seeking bids, like $150 million for battery storage and $360 million for gas-fired power.
but they say they will not reveal the cost of the diesel generators because they're going to tender. Once again, they get themselves completely tripped up in their own words.
He says through better planning, the government could have focused on renewable energy in Port Augusta instead.
By a very happy coincidence, a 110 megawatt solar thermal generator at Port Augusta would be almost identical to the demand that the state government says it needs to be met.
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
Visitors to Port Pirie seem to be unaware of the unwritten rule to not drink or cook with rainwater. Possible lead contamination threatens the health of residents and tourists, and it's recommended to steer clear of consuming waters that have been captured on the roof.
It's a well-known fact amongst locals that rainwater that's collected from roofs and is stored in rainwater tanks is contaminated with lead.
It's associated with levels of dust in the city that contain lead, and particularly from emissions from the smelter that are still occurring.
And it's proven difficult for locals to manage and test their rainwater for lead as weather conditions constantly change. Just because lead isn't present at a particular time doesn't mean the wind won't change, contaminating your water.
It's really best not to use rainwater tanks at all for drinking purposes or for cooking.
And because lead is a metal, boiling the water won't decontaminate it. It will only kill germs and bacteria.
Boiling a kettle and drinking coffee, if there's water in if there's lead in the water, lead will be in your coffee.
You can still use your rainwater for household purposes, such as showering, but it's best not to use your rainwater when bathing children because lead does have a bigger impact on children than it does on adults. Rainwater can also be used for watering the garden, just don't water any edible plants with it. Many tourists are still drinking and cooking with rainwater and ignoring lead exposure symptoms. It's important to seek medical advice if you have any worries about your water consumption. For more information on rainwater in Port Pirie, visit our Facebook page. Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Well, stay with us. Still to come in tonight's local news, if these walls could talk. A look behind the bars inside one of Australia's oldest jails. The details ahead. Welcome back. A survey says the majority of Kimber residents support the proposed radioactive waste management facility for the region. 57% of residents voted in favour of having the dump near the town, as the next phase of site assessment is set to begin.
After a postal vote was finalised several weeks ago, just over half of Kimber's community say they support the town's hosting of a facility to store radioactive waste.
Just the vote to say, are you prepared to talk about it over the next 12 months and work out what the benefits or downside might be for the community.
The Australian Electoral Commission says out of 690 votes, 57% voted in favour of the dump.
The close neighbours, the near touching neighbours within 5 kilometres are all in favour of at least going to the next step.
The Federal Resources Minister says the next phase of consideration for the Kimber sites will include a $2 million benefit package for local projects. Yet he says this is not to be confused with the community's final decision.
We will only proceed with the facility if there is broad community support in either Kimber or Hawker to build this facility.
The Minister says the proposed sites will be further assessed and conversation with Kimber residents will continue.
We hope over the next year to complete the detailed design to be able to put before the community, and hope by mid-next year to be able to have that vote in both Kimber and Hawker.
Amelia Simpson, Southern Cross News.
Whyala's business, political and social leaders gathered last night for the launch of the Whyala Tourism Focus Group. The group is set to focus on bringing more events to the city to help grow its share of the lucrative tourism market.
As Whyala moves away from being a one-industry economy, hoteliers and accommodation providers are stepping up to make tourism a priority. A tourism focus group was officially launched last night, with the aim of growing the local industry.
It was just amazing. I'm very privileged to think people have seen this as a new door to open.
In recent months, the sector has started to see signs of growth. The return of the cuttlefish has people flocking to the area, while over 1,500 people visited for the Junior Soccer Championships over the June long weekend. Ms Derham says the group will continue to lobby all levels of government to bring more attractions to town.
Knock on doors and get people to come to this wonderful city of ours, whether it be to look at the dolphins, whether it be to look at the museum, the history of Whyalla. We've got so much to offer.
Their lobbying has had some success, with council to appoint an events development officer. Tourism Minister Leon Bignell was present at the launch last night, praising the group for its work. He says the industry is worth $6 billion to SA, and Whyalla has the attractions to grab a significant slice.
Cuttlefish that are here for 4 months of the year, they don't aggregate like that anywhere else in the world. Dolphins down at the marina are a selling point. Getting out on a fishing charter and catching some snapper.
John Hunt, Southern Cross News.
Southern Cross News has been given a look inside one of Australia's oldest prisons to speak with some of the officers working behind the bars. The Broken Hill Correctional Centre is preparing to celebrate its 125th anniversary this year, and there's plenty of history within the walls.
Behind the razor wire, behind the cameras and behind the bars are the men and women who help rehabilitate the region's criminal offenders.
Working here every day, it's a great place to work. It opens your eyes up.
Southern Cross News was given a rare insight into the Broken Hill Correctional Centre, the workplace of these correctional officers, and what their job entails. Darren Clifton works in the main wing of the centre, which houses up to 48 inmates. For him, it's like any other job.
We're confronted with different situations on a daily basis, that's probably what I could say, and you handle those situations accordingly. Other people have different work avenues. I work in jail. I come to work and just go through the process of what the day delivers.
The centre's security manager says jail is not about incarceration, it's about rehabilitation. The centre provides inmates with a number of programs and educational help to get their lives on the right track.
The aim is, at the end of the day, to get them able to participate in programs and education, and then for them to get some skills and knowledge to be able to put together a resume and go and approach an employer when they get released.
As the centre prepares to celebrate 125 years, not many people know the jail's historical importance during the Second World War. Labelled as one of the best kept secrets of the war, the jail housed the constitutions of Australia and the Netherlands, as well as all of the federal gold reserves, which in those times was valued at around $50 million. The massive vault used for storage is now used as the main wing office. Parts of the pulley system they used to bring in the bullion still on the ceiling.
It's just part of our life. We don't even take a second glimpse of that vault, and you work within it on a daily basis. So it's part of history, and we're in that history.
Patrick Reinke, Southern Cross News.
Lifeline Broken Hill is gearing up for its major fundraiser of the year. The Lifeline Broken Hill Art Exhibition raises money for programs and services within the Far West community. 33% of all artwork sold goes towards the organisation, with the artwork on display until July the 18th.
We're really excited this year. We're very lucky in that we've been able to enhance the exhibition by introducing the Emerging Art Prize. Very, very fortunate to have such a huge support by the community, including the Broken Hill City Council and Far West Health District. Doors open at 6:30, loads of affordable, high-quality art.
The exhibition is on at the Geo Centre from tomorrow night. Well, stay with us when we return after the break. Pitch Perfect, how cricket and footy will coexist at Port Pirie's upgraded sports precinct. The details ahead. Welcome back. Well, time now to check how things stand at the petrol pumps, and prices continue to go down as we head to the Bowsers. All of the Spencer Gulf cities and Broken Hill currently relatively cheap in their pricing. Here's Patrick with this week's Field Watch.
All around Australia, petrol prices are on their way down. At the moment, the national average is only $1.23, the lowest it's been since August last year. These drops have been driven by plunging crude oil prices. Too unleaded, and we see Port Pirie now hovering in the high teens. The price now $1.18. Port Augusta is gradually on the way down, but it's Whyalla making the big move. A 4-cent drop puts the Still City on $1.25. Port Lincoln is now the most expensive in the Spencer Gulf, with an average of $1.28. Broken Hill is still declining, and Adelaide continues to revel in the low prices. They're only paying a mind-blowing $1.05. to diesel now, and Port Pirie is still on the way down and now on 121. Port Augusta, Port Lincoln and Broken Hill have all seen no movement, but again it's Whyalla making progress. A handy 2-cent drop puts their price on $1.23. And down in Adelaide, they've also seen a small drop, the price now an even $1.20. So make sure you're topping up as much as you can with prices the way they are. But remember that these prices are the regional averages and they do not reflect any one particular outlet. If you do find a spot that is cheaper, let us know on our Facebook page. Tim.
Thanks, Pat. Cricket and footy are both the winners at the Port Pirie Sports Precinct. The two main cricket pitches have been designed around the centre bounce area to ensure the two sports can work together in their respective seasons without damaging each other's infrastructure.
The sports precinct reached another milestone last week with the cricket pitches put in.
The extra cricket pitches that were designed by Les Burdett will provide for growth of the sport in Port Pirie in time to come.
4 cricket pitches have been put in with room for another 2 if required.
It ensures that we can maintain top-class pitches.
Twin cricket pitches lay side by side with the football centre bounce in the middle.
There's a centre false pitch area which is going to be used for football, so the United centre bouncing on the cricket pitches, which gives a softer area.
And Les Burdett, the famous Adelaide Oval curator, was impressed with the facility.
He said, I guess perfection is good enough. So that indicates a high level of quality work that we've seen on site today.
The cricket pitches are on track to be finished on time.
Pitches will be scheduled to be finished by the end of this week.
Rachel Nell, Southern Cross News.
Port Lincoln Council is in the final stages of completing a revamp of the town's tennis court precinct. The courts will now feature new staging and seating areas for spectators, enhancing the once dilapidated features.
It's another ace for the Port Lincoln Council. Work is nearing completion on the town's tennis precinct, with additional family areas and viewing platforms, making it easier for onlookers.
It makes the area safer, it makes access better. The gravel inclines weren't the safest thing, so having them now tiered with ramps and steps and grass-lawned areas will be a big improvement.
The work coincides with a number of upgrades the Port Lincoln Tennis Association has completed, including club rooms, balcony and decking area.
The club themselves have put in a major effort here and really refreshed and revitalised the club rooms.
Meantime, newly completed storm water developments have been tested during today's downpour. Flooding for residents on Normandy Place will soon be a thing of the past.
In those high-intensity rainfall events, we've had overtopping of our existing stormwater drains.
But the work hit some major roadblocks, delaying its completion.
Unfortunately, going up Normandy Place, we hit some pretty solid granite, so we were a couple of weeks pretty much in the one spot, hammering our way through very solid rock.
Normandy Place is one of many stormwater projects the council is currently completing as part of its long-term management plan.
Underneath there's a lot of infrastructure, $500,000 was spent up there, and it's nearing completion.
Jason Kemp, Southern Cross News.
Well, stay with us after the break. A look at the local weather for the rest of the week. Welcome back to the weather now, and some showers passing over and clearing off today. 18 the top in Port Augusta with 16 for Whyalla. Port Pirie 17, the same down in Port Lincoln. Broken Hill today 14 degrees the top. On the national satellite image, a cloud band moving over the region is said to keep some lingering showers across some of our centres. Out on the waters, the winds to 20 knots and southerly, the seas to 2 metres to the southwest. Sunrise is at 7:25. So looking at tomorrow, showers lingering but starting to clear off. 16 for Port Augusta, Whyalla and for Port Pirie. Port Lincoln on 17 degrees and a fine 14 in Broken Hill. Then into Friday, the showers might linger for Port Lincoln, 18 degrees the top ahead of a fine Saturday. Clear fine for Friday 16, then 17 for Saturday. Clear and at 17 both days in Woodner. In Whyalla, Friday is also looking fine and mild with 15, then 16 and sunny on Saturday. Port Augusta 16, then 17. Kadina with 15, then 16 as we cross over into the weekend. Port Pirie with 16 for Friday, then 17 on Saturday. Clare 13 and 14 as we roll into the weekend. Broken Hill also with 13, then 14 for Friday and Saturday. And that is the local news for this Wednesday evening. Don't forget, as always, you can stay up to date with us on Facebook and on Twitter. You can also drop us an email and catch past bulletins on our website and on YouTube as well. We'll see you back here tomorrow night from 6:30. I'm Tim Hadfield from the Southern Cross News team. Enjoy your evening. Good night.